Hello everybody, can anyone not hear me? It should be up. There's your warm-up. Start with that. As we go through this live streaming process, we're going to have some bugs here and there. We're all working things out. So just kind of be patient with us. If you do miss something, it is being recorded right now. So it will be posted later on. Our first thing we're going to do is go and do our warm-up here. And today's objective, if you didn't see it in our classroom, is going to be factoring trinomials. And trinomials are a bit tough at first, and it's going to take a lot of practice. So this week we're pretty much just practicing factoring trinomials. So here is your warm-up. Give it a shot. It is just finding factors right now. Factoring comes from the fact that we have to find factors. So factors of 36, factors of 12, factors of 15, and factors of 96. If you could take a minute on your own and get those answers down. That way we can get some practice with factoring first. So with 36, as you probably recall, we just start listing factors. So we have 1 times 36 is going to be 36. You have 2 times 18 is going to be 36. You have 3 times 12. And you have 4 times 9. And those are your factors for 36, because 1 times 36 equals 36, 2 times 18 equals 36, and 3 times 12 and 4 times 9. So if you remember how to just list factors, it's not too difficult. So for 12, we should be getting 1 and 12. We should also be getting 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And for 15, you should be getting 1 and 15. You should be getting 2 does not work because it's not even, so 3 and 5, and that's about it. For 96, I believe you should be getting well, first off, you should be getting 1 and 96. See, 2, half of 90 gives you 45, half of 6 gives you 3, 45 plus 3 is 48. For 3, you should be getting 9 divided by 3 is 3 and 2, so you should be getting 32. For 4, is that divisible by 4? That should be divisible by 4, right? Again, you're welcome to use calculators today. Yeah, that's 4 and 24. I should have knew that. 4 and 24. See, 5 isn't going to work. 6 should work because 2 and 3 worked. And that gives you 16. And 7 is not going to work. 8 should be 12, right? 8 times 12. And that should be it. So those are your factors of it. And I will also like to mention that in case you don't realize, you also have the negative versions of all these. Right? Negative 1 times 36 is 36. Negative 2 times negative 18 is 36. Negative 3 times negative 12 is 36. Negative 4 times negative 9 is 36. So you also have all the negative values of these, and that's going to come in play. What I would like you to do is if you don't already have the PowerPoint open in the Google Classroom that I posted, please follow along with that. Those were mentioned and as your reminders. And I'm looking at the first slide now. If anybody has any questions, feel free to type in the chat. I will do other examples for you and things like that. But we're going to get rid of this for now. And we're going to look at some things from before. And if you recall from a couple weeks ago, we were doing some foiling. And I'd like to foil this problem for you. X plus 3, there's your first binomial, times x plus 5. And I'm not going to foil it all the way. I'm going to foil it so you get the steps of it. And this is going to equal your trinomial. So first we're going to do our first. So remember, FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. So first is going to be x times x, but I'm going to write it as x times x. I'm not actually going to solve it out. You should know that that is x squared, though. You should be able to solve that. Next, we're going to do outer, which is x times 5. And everything is positive here, so I'm not worried too much about signs, but that's going to give me 5x. And then we're going to do inner, which is 3 times x. And then we're going to do last, which is, oh, I'm sorry, not that, which is 3 times 5, which gives you that 15. And I don't want to do it like that. I want to put it like 3 times 5. Just so you get an idea of where things are coming from. Now, in our trinomial, we have a set format for it, and it's going to look like a times x squared plus b times x plus c. So the important values that we're trying to figure out are the coefficients here. We want this constant, we want this coefficient, and we want this coefficient. This coefficient we're going to worry about later in the week. Right now we're going to figure out how we get this guy and this guy out of this. You get b by adding 5 and 3. So 5 and 3 you added together. And you should note there's a similarity here, right? To get b, that's not a b. To get b, we're going to add 5 plus 3. To get c, you should note that it is 15. And we're looking at that as actually being 5 times 3. And you should see these are kind of related just by operation here is the only difference here. My face is over the problem. All right. Thanks for the heads up. There you go. Sorry, I got like a million screens going on my board here. I'll try not to go over there. But anyways, we have a x squared plus bx plus c. So you'll see the similarities between b and c here. You're both using the same numbers, 5 and 5, 3 and 3. However, to get b, you add them, and to get c, you multiply them. And this here is the relationship that we need to realize in order to factor trinomials that look like this. So we are trying to factor things like that. So I want to go the opposite of foiling here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come down here. Leave that up there for a minute so we can follow it. And let's factor this trinomial. we have x squared plus 7x plus 12. Clean it up, I'm not too used to drawing on the computer yet. So we want to factor this trinomial. Now remember, we don't have an a value here. We're going to deal with that later this week. Our b value is 7, so b equals 7 here. And our c value is 12. So c equals 12 here. So we need a relationship between c and b. We need to find factors of 12 that add up to 7. Keeping in mind this is a positive and that's a positive. So in order to do this, we're going to come over here off to the side. We're going to write 12 here, and underneath it we're just going to list the possible factors of 12. So we have, well, keep in mind this is a positive 12, so we do want to list the positive factors of 12. And we need to add up to a positive 7 here, so we are actually only concerned with the positive numbers in this problem. So we have, what is it? We got 1 and 12. We got 2 and 6. We got 3 and 4. And those are the possible combinations that we could have. We want to choose the one of these factors that add up to 7. So 1 plus 12 equals 13. That doesn't work. We don't want that. 2 plus 6 equals 8. That doesn't work. We don't want that. 3 plus 4 equals 7. That's the one we're looking for. So we know that 3 and 4 are going to be the numbers we play with. That's determined again by, we listed factors of 12, and we found which factors added up to 7. Yes, some of these you're going to get a long list here, but with practice it's going to get easier. Once we've figured out our factors, we can just plug them into our format up here, what this looks like. So to factor this, we're going to do, we have an x value. Everything is positive here, and we're going to add 3, and we have an x value, and we're going to add 4. Now it doesn't matter if you wrote it this way because multiplication is commutative. They are the same thing. And now we went from the trinomial here to the multiplication of the binomials. If you have questions, please make sure you're asking in the chat. We can check our work by, if we foiled this, we should be able to get this. So let's go ahead and foil that. I'm going to just make some room here. I'm going to leave that. Let's get rid of that. So let's go ahead and foil x plus 4 times x plus 3, and hopefully we're going to get the x squared plus 7x plus 12. So x plus 4 foiled, again you're going to do first, x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x, 4 times x is 4x, 4 times 3 is 12, and when you combine it you get x squared plus 7x plus 12. So you see how we went from our trinomial to the multiplication of the binomials, and then we went back to the binomials, foiling it to get the trinomial. It is going to take some practice. What I would like you to do now is to actually practice some of them. Again, if you are following along in the PowerPoint that's attached, these are the following problems for that. I need to do that. And we'll do another one together here. Please fill it out. These are actually going to be what you're turning into me. So make sure you do get the answers to them. That way I know you're doing your work for the day. So here we have g squared plus 7g plus 10. And again, what we need to do is we need to figure out what factors of 10 are going to add up to 7. Factors of 10 that add up to 7. So we're going to come over here and we're just going to start listing our factors. You'll note that this is a positive 10 and this is a positive 7. So they need to multiply to a positive, which means our factors are both going to be positive or both going to be negative. But they need to add up to a positive, which means they both have to be positive. So I'm only going to list the positive factors here. So first we got 1 and 10, and we got 2 and 5. 3 doesn't work, 4 doesn't work, and that's it. Those are our options for this. So out of these two, which ones add up to 7? Well, 1 plus 10 equals 11, so don't want that. 2 plus 5 gives you the 7. That's the one we want. That is our winner, so we're going to come over here. Again, there is nothing strange about the A factor. It is a 1 out front here, so you don't have to worry about it. And you just kind of plug it in. We have x plus 2 and x plus 5. And you can see these are both positive, and that's why we have positive signs here. And again, if you want to check your work, you can FOIL this. X times x is going to give you x squared. X times 5 is going to give you 5x. 2 times x is going to give you 2x. 2 times 5 is going to give you 10. Combine your like terms. Oh, I'm sorry, these are g's. I'm just used to using x for everything. That's a g. That's a g. That's g squared. That's 5g. That's 2g. This is g squared. That is plus 7g and plus 10. And you can see it goes back to the original on what we wanted. All right, let's look at the next one. Next problem I'm going to ask you to do is a squared plus 13a plus 30. And again, you start by looking at your c value. C value is 30, so I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to find factors of 30. This is positive, and this is positive, so I only want positive factors of 30. So I'm just going to start by listing them. I got a 1 and a 30. I got a 2 and a 15. What is that? Mr. Randy used Google Classroom to turn in math work. Yeah, you can edit the file that's right there and just turn it in. Honestly, you don't even have to turn it in. I can see what you're doing because I gave you the file. But yeah, just edit the file and turn it in. They are the problems that we are currently doing too. So if you want to just do it as we go along, that would be awesome. So again, we're listing factors of 30. 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10. Let's see, is 4 going to work? 4 is not going to work. 5 should work. 5 and 6. So these are our factors of 30. We want the one that is going to add to 13. So 1 plus 30 does not add to 13. 2 plus 15 does not add to 13. This one does, and this one does not. So this here is the one we want. We're going to come over here and just plug it into that format. Again, there's nothing weird about this a value, so it's always going to start with a. And then we have a positive 3 and a positive 10. So one gets the 3 and one gets the 10. Again, it doesn't matter which one here gets it because their first value here is both a. So it could be a plus 10 times a plus 3, or how I wrote it. So again, if you have any questions, make sure you're typing in the chat. This video will be recorded, or it is being recorded, and it will be posted later on for you to view as well. Moving on, because sometimes our cases aren't as simple. Sometimes our signs are not fun, but we are smart enough to reason through this and figure out how the signs are going to work. So let's look at one where we actually have a negative sign. This is d squared minus 17d plus 42. And again, if you're following along with the notes, all I'm doing. In this case, our b value here, which is this 17, is negative. So our b value actually equals negative 17, but our c value is still a positive 42. You really don't handle this any differently, but the factors you list are gonna need to be a little more precise on what you're writing there. So again, we're going to look at our c value of 42. So I'm going to come over here, write 42, and I'm going to list factors of it. So first off, I got 1 and 42. However, these are not appropriate factors for this because no matter what I do to 1 and 42, they are both positive numbers. They're not going to get me a negative 17. And if you sit there and think about it, if you only list positive factors here, you're only ever going to get positive sums. So in this case, because b is negative, I'm looking at this b is negative sign here, that means my factors must also both be negative. So the factors must both be negative. So here this is actually going to be negative 1 and negative 42, which either way is not going to add up to 17. Next we got 2, right? We have negative 2 and half of 40 is 20, half of 2 is 1, and negative 21. Let's see, 3, 4 plus 2 is 6, so 3 would work. So we have a negative 3 and 42 divided by 3 gives me 14. And a negative 14. Let's see, we got 4 will not, 5 will not, 6 will work. We can have negative 6 and negative 7, and those are your factors. So out of these being negative, we want to know which ones add up to negative 17. So negative 1 plus negative 42 gives you a negative 43. This will give you a negative, see, 21, 23. This will give you a negative 17, and hey, that's what we want. So I'm going to stop there. This here is what we want, so these are both negative now. So just when we come over to plug them into our binomials, we have a d, and instead of plus 3, we have a negative 3. And we have a d and a negative 14. And that's your answer. And again, you can check this by factoring it. D times d gives you d squared. Let's do this one next. D times negative 14 gives you a negative 14d. Negative 3 times d gives you a negative 3d. Negative 3 times negative 14 gives you that positive 42. And you can combine them, d squared, and fix your signs while you do it. It's negative 17d plus 42. So you can see we can check our work, going from the trinomial to the binomial, and then back to the product of the binomials, and then going from the binomials back to our trinomials. So you can practice some of those as well. Go ahead, take them minute to try this on your own. Again, if you're following along in the Google slide, these are all written in there. So we have k squared plus 10k plus 25. So go ahead, take a minute to try that on your own. I am going to do it silently in front of you, see if you can follow along and understand what I'm doing each time. So I'm not talking you through this one, just go for it. Hopefully you followed that, we're able to do it. One thing I do want to mention is this right here can actually be simplified. You will note that this is k plus 5 times k plus 5, which is the same thing as k plus 5 squared. So this here is your answer to this one, and if you remember from last week, it does make sense with, hey, we're just going to square these ones, put them there, and then add them together to get this one, and so on. But yeah, wasn't too difficult with the signs there. Hopefully you're able to follow along. It's very strange. I don't get a lot of feedback teaching this way, so again, if you need me to do more or do another one, let me know. There is a handful of them that we are practicing, and it's going to get a little more complicated as the week goes on, so make sure you get this down pretty well first. Next one, let's look at q squared minus 15q plus 36. Again, 36 is positive, and we have a negative 15 here. So whenever you see that, you're going to want multiplication to be positive, so signs have to be the same. Addition has to be negative, so signs both have to be negative. So we want the negative versions of all these. Should you take notes? You should, because you're turning in all the problems that we're doing. Other than that, the PowerPoint is shared with you, so you can follow along with that. And the fact that this is going to be recorded, so while it is being recorded, you can sit there and rewatch it all you want. So that's up to you. I'm not going to be able to see the notes you take. I highly suggest you do these by hand right now so you can understand what's going on with them with me. So follow along. So here we have factors of 36, and again we want negative ones. So this is negative, what is that, 18? Yeah, negative 3 and 12, and that's the one we want right there once you find it. And if you can find it without listing them all, go right ahead. Once you find it is what you need, so go for it. I'm not going to list 4 because it's not going to matter, but 3 plus 12 gives you that 15, and they're both negative, so it'll be a negative 15. So all that we do, give the negative 3 to one of them, and give the negative 12 to one of them. Again, you can check your work by factoring it out, or sorry, foiling it. And there you go. Check in your work. All right, let's look at our next scenario, which is going to be if C is negative and B is positive. So again, all what you really got to do is watch your signs on these and do a little reasoning through it. So let's look at this one. Here, our B value is a positive 6 and our C value is a negative 27. We're still going to do the same thing. We're going to look for factors. However, these are factors of negative 27 now, which means they both have to be, one has to be positive and one has to be negative. So we are going to list a few different options for these as we go. First off, we have that negative 27. So we could have negative 1 times 27, but you could also have positive 1 times negative 27. Those are also factors of it. So with that, neither one of those are going to add up to positive 6. So we want them to add up to positive 6. So just keep going down. We're going to have a negative 3 and a positive 9. And we could also have a positive 3 and a negative 9. And these are the two we want to be concerned with. This negative 3, and again we are adding these. So negative 3 plus 9 gives you the positive 6, while 3 plus negative 9 gives you the negative 6. And due to the fact that we want the positive 6 here, we're taking this one, not this one. So we're just going to come over and plug it into our values. We have m minus 3 this time, and we have an m plus 9. That way our signs are going to match with this. So we have a negative 3, so 1m gets a negative 3. We have a positive 9, so 1m gets a positive 9. And again, you can check your work by foiling it out. M squared plus 9m plus negative 3m and plus negative 27. And then you can combine like terms and clean things up. This gives you the positive 6m, and this gives you the negative 27. So you can see we can do ones with other signs too. Just be careful on the signs. I mean, that's where most of the mistakes are going to be coming from. So we got about 10 minutes left of class. So we're going to do a couple more problems here, just as examples. And we'll pick up the end of this slideshow tomorrow, just because we are running a bit low on time. And you have other classes and other work to do today as well. So let's look at a couple more with some different cases here. Well, we just did one like this, but we can do another one. So we have m squared plus 8m minus 20. And again, in this case, c is negative, so we want factors of negative 20. So you got negative 1 and 20, but you can also have positive 1 and negative 20. And they need to add up to a positive 8. I'm confused on number 7 and 8. Is that from the pages that I assigned? Hold on, let me bring up which ones are 7 and 8. Oh, 7 and 8. Okay, on there, we're probably going to look at those tomorrow, just because we're running out of time. So if you can get 1 through 6 done, that'd be awesome. But there is a slide explaining it if you want to try it without me. But just because we are running out of time for math class today, I will push that over to tomorrow. But yeah, there, like Audrey said, there's a slide explaining that too. So you can either attempt it or you can wait till tomorrow and I'll explain it. Or you can do both. That would probably be the best approach. Try it on your own, see what you can come up with, and ask questions. So here we have -1 and 20, 1 and 20. We have 3 does not work. Well, 2 works, yeah. So we can have 2 and 10. And these are going to be the ones we want. And -10. Right, to get the +8, that's going to be this one here. -2 plus 10 gives you the +8. How do you use variables in B? What do you mean by that, Brady? What do you mean variables in B? Anyways, here you're going to have -2 and 10, so when you put them together, you're going to have m in -2 on one and m in +10 on the other. And again, these are interchangeable. This is what's giving you your +8. Variables in B. Number 4 on the page. All right, let's do number 4 together then. Let's look at number 4. Oh, okay. This is y squared minus y minus 56. Now keeping in mind here, your C value is -56, but your B value is a bit hidden. It's actually -1. So you are looking for -1 when they add up. So you want values that could add up to -1. So you probably want two numbers that are really close together when you think of factors to get that -1. So honestly, we have a -56. And remember, they have to multiply to negative, so their signs have to be different, and they have to add to a negative. So really, you're looking at your 8 and 7s here. So you either want +7 or -7, which will give you -8 or +8. And I know it's going to be 8 and 7s just because they're so close to each other. And in order to get a -1, I need numbers that are really close to each other. So this here is going to give you your -1, while this gives you your +1. Y is -1 out there, or sorry, B is -1 out there. So this is the one, this is the set we want. So when you do it, you just get y minus 8 and y plus 7. And again, you can check by FOILing. Y squared, that is a +7y. And again, that makes sense. We want that +7. And you get the -8y, and that makes sense. You want the -8. And this gives you your -56. So when you combine it, you get y squared minus y. It's actually -1y, but again, we don't write the 1. And minus 56. So hopefully that helped you out. Do you want us to turn the paper in if we are done with it? Yes, please. If you are done, turn it in. Again, if you figured out 7 and 8 on your own, you can still turn it in. I will look at it. But I will start tomorrow off with 7 and 8. It's really not too difficult because, you know, there's just less things to combine when you FOIL it. And you should know that there's a pattern from a couple weeks ago that we looked at that makes things like that. So we will look at them tomorrow. I am going to stay on for the next couple minutes here in case people have any questions. Feel free to ask. Can you turn it in multiple times? You'll have to click the unsubmit button and then edit it and then submit it again, Dan. But yeah, you should be able to. It's not in a Google Forms, it's just in a page, just edit it. So again, I will stay on for a couple more minutes here in case somebody has any questions on things. But yeah, hopefully you were able to get through to the live stream, and hopefully you were able to figure out any problems you might have. Again, you can always email me if you have questions later, or so on. Help with number 5. Sure, I can do number 5 with you. Number 5 gives you... Oh, that's okay, we can do it again. G squared plus 7g plus 10. Again, you want factors of 10 that add up to 7, so I'm looking at my 2's and 5's. And therefore, I'm just going to do g plus 2 and g plus 5. I got nothing fancy with signs, they're all addition. 2 plus 5 does give you that 7, which is what we're looking for, and 2 times 5 does give you that 10, which is what we're looking for. So that one's not too difficult for us. Any other questions? All right, again, if you have questions for tomorrow, let me know. I will be streaming again tomorrow. I will also have an email, so you can shoot me an email. Good luck with your social distancing out there. Stay safe and do your part. We can go over 7 and 8 tomorrow. All right, if there's no further questions in math, I'm going to end the chat. You guys probably should get a group chat together just to help you stay sane, see what everybody else is up to and all that. But thanks for tuning in. Again, the recording will be posted whenever I get it edited up and thrown in there. So thank you.